It's time for Weekly Pulse, your heartbeat to what's trending in sports. Welcome to Weekly Pulse. I'm your host, Mackenzie Salmon. NFL fans, this week is for you. We're talking all things football, including an interview with the legendary Troy Aikman, a roundtable discussion with our very own Jared Bell and Mike Jones, who play teacher, to give out some midseason grades, as well as a chat about the two New York teams currently on the hot seat. Before we get into all that, let's kick things off with this week's Power Rankings. We are officially past the halfway point of the NFL season. Time to see where everybody ranks in this week's Power Rankings. Riser, Miami Dolphins. Get this, the Dolphins went 3-1 against the NFC West, the supposed best division in football, and their last win may be their most impressive one yet. They have one of the top defenses in the league, and Tagovailoa may have officially arrived. Miami is on fuego right now. Faller, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That felt like the worst loss of Tom Brady's career. Oh wait, it was. You can have all these weapons on offense, but if you don't find balance, things can go upside down real quick for the Bucks. Riser, Buffalo Bills. What a statement win for Buffalo. Just a week after finally beating the Patriots, they straight up whooped the Seattle Seahawks. The Bills' only two losses are against two respectable teams in Kansas City and Tennessee. If this offense can keep playing like this, they are going to be tough to beat going forward. Faller, Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson is still very much in the MVP conversation, but I think he's starting to realize if he doesn't play perfect, the Seattle defense will crumble. Seattle is very much a Super Bowl contender, but also very vulnerable to a blowout loss when they play against some of the better offenses in the league. Riser, Minnesota Vikings. Don't look now, but Dalvin Cook and Minnesota are running right back into the thick of the wild card race. They are 2 games back with 8 weeks to go. And if you look at their schedule, 9 to 10 wins is definitely not out of the question. If they keep cooking, they'll continue to rise up the board and potentially sneak in the playoffs. Home field advantage has often been perceived as one of the most important factors in football. Given the unprecedented times, how is that shaping up through 9 weeks of the season? Are we seeing road teams winning at a record rate? Are home teams starting to win more as fans are allowed back in the stadium? Throughout the 2020 season, we will be tracking those very questions and getting the on-the-scene scoop from our NFL reporters across the country.
If you ask Pittsburgh quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, the Cowboys did not have much of a home field advantage. Steelers fans traveled in black and gold, waving their terrible towels as the Steelers mounted their late-game comeback. Of the more than 31,700 fans here, the Steelers fans were at least as loud as the Cowboys fans. Big Ben gave them a shout-out after the game, saying that if the Cowboys are America's team, then based on how well Steelers fans traveled this week, the Steelers must be the world's team.
The Colts lost 24-10 today to the Baltimore Ravens, and they had 12,500 fans in attendance, but they could have used more because they came out real flat in the second half, and they used anything to turn around the momentum. Couldn't do it. Fans maybe would have helped, but who knows? The Ravens team's really good, and the Colts fall 24-10.
About 15,000 fans were allowed to attend the game, and a fair number left at halftime when it was 31-0. But hey, the fans who streamed out of the stadium at the half could at least say they witnessed a bit of history. It was the first time in Tom Brady's illustrious career that he trailed the game by 30 points or more at the half.
Through the first 9 weeks of the season, home teams have gone 64, 67, and 1. That's a below 500 winning percentage. We could be seeing a record pace of road teams winning this year. In fact, road teams went an impressive 8-5 in week 9.
Unexpected points in Phoenix, a Denver disappointment in Atlanta, and I went 1-2 last week. I'm Lorenzo Reyes, and I've been covering the NFL for 7 years now, and every week this season, I'm gonna hit you with the 3 bets I feel most confident in, my locks of the week. And let's get after it with a team that is improving with each passing week, and looks like it knows its time is now. And I say time that way because of course I'm talking about Tua time. You can't help but be impressed with how rookie Tua Tagovailoa outdueled Kyler Murray. The Dolphins are at home, hosting a Chargers team that is super creative, that is, in terms of finding different ways to lose. I actually like this LA squad a lot, but they've lost 6 of their last 7, and while the average margin of defeat in their losses has been just 4 points, Miami is giving only 2.5. Plus, the Dolphins are tied for the NFL lead at 6-2 against the spread and have covered their last 4. Take the Dolphins to win and cover 29-23. Moving on, let's check in on the chef, or cook that is. Not only is Dalvin taking over the offense, but Minnesota has won 2 in a row, and more importantly, for our purposes, has covered 5 of its last 6. They're on the road, giving 2.5 against the Bears. Now, Chicago, let's put this nicely, is going in the other direction. Injured Tariq Cohen tweeting during Sunday's game was every Bears fan out there. Quarterback is an issue. Take the Vikings to lay those points as road favorites, 27-21. And finally, let's close this thing out with a line that when I saw, I had to do a double take. The Cleveland Browns are coming off a bye and are at home giving 3 points to a Texans team that is 1-7 against the spread this season. Like, really? Houston is fresh off of a narrow victory against a Jaguars team that was starting a 6th-round rookie QB. Take the rested Brownies to win and cover 28-22.
Coming up, our NFL reporter Jory Epstein sits down with former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Troy Aikman. It's definitely a conversation you don't want to miss. Welcome back to Weekly Pulse.
Why don't we start off by hearing about your involvement in this Avocados from Mexico campaign? Tell me about what you and Aaron are doing.
Yeah, no, they Avocados from Mexico approached Aaron and I and asked us if we would like to be a part of their big campaign around the Super Bowl, and it was a pretty easy one for me to get behind. I'm a huge fan of avocados. I try to eat healthy, try to incorporate them into most of the meals that I have, and then the fact that with the Super Bowl and that being guacamole and all being such a big part of that, I always have a Super Bowl party when I'm not calling the game. So I called it last year and didn't obviously then have the party, but I'll have it again this year, hopefully. With everything that we're doing, with the COVID and all that, but yeah, so that's really why I got behind it and feel really good about it.
And shifting to football for a couple minutes, how much of Garrett Gilbert's game versus the Steelers did you see, and how would you assess his performance this week?
I watched the game, and I thought he did a really nice job. I know that was not an easy situation for him to go into and play against the Steelers, a good football team, undefeated, and for his first NFL start. I mean, he's got a pretty interesting path to get to this point, both high school, college, and now with the pros. But I thought he handled himself really well. He was poised. You would never have known that it was his first game. And, I think he played well enough, other than a few plays here and there, the Cowboys could have certainly won that game. So I thought he played a really good game and did a good job.
For sure. And you mentioned on radio this morning, I think you said it was in Carolina that you had the chance to see him. Right. In camp. What was it that impressed you about him then? And is there a moment or conversation that stands out from when you saw him?
I think that probably his command of the offense at the time, and, for someone who was a first-year player, I mean, really just getting exposed to. I was there really because of Ron Rivera and Norv Turner, and knowing there's a lot of volume to Norv's offense, and he was in his first season and seemed to have a pretty good grasp of it. I liked the way he threw the ball, and I just thought he had a good command of what they were trying to do. And like I said on the show this morning, that's why I was really kind of surprised that he didn't stick around there. But when he was announced that he was going to be the starter in Dallas, I don't know what that competition was like with he and Cooper Rush, but I don't want to say I wasn't surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised if Cooper had been named as well. But I thought that Garrett would come out and play pretty well, and he was able to do that.
For sure. I mean, is that the type of person that you think, okay, let's see a little more from him this season and maybe he can be a good backup for Dak next year? Or how do you balance, well, Andy's been doing this a long time, but Garrett showed you something you can like both in terms of how he interacts with the team and just how he plays?
Yeah, I think, those are some decisions that the club will have to make. Andy obviously has played, started over 100 games, and, he's led teams to the playoffs, and, that kind of experience is hard to beat, especially when you're talking about a backup. I mean, the Cowboys, who, as you know, have had Cooper Rush for the last few years, and, an inexperienced player. So I thought Andy was a great pickup for them. But as far as Garrett goes, I don't know what his future might be with the Cowboys. Maybe he will be the backup. I'm not certain. But I think in the way that he was able to come out and play against a really good defensive football team, at least he put on tape for the other 31 teams to show what he's capable of doing. I would think that he would deserve a spot. I mean, there's not a lot of, when you look around the league, teams are always looking for a capable quarterback to be able to step in when the starter goes down. And I think Garrett proved that.
Whether inside the building or out, it's difficult to gauge how much do we start building towards next year versus how much do you really try and play out. Do you think that as long as they're in the NFC East, they should just keep trying to win as many games, or how do you balance that with the development of guys?
Yeah, and I really think I think those things tend to take care of themselves. I would say even if they weren't in the NFC East or they weren't in the divisional race at the midway point like they are, I don't know that you. I think you coach to win. I think that's the objective. I think all those things kind of work itself out. The Cowboys aren't in need of a quarterback. I could see where maybe some teams might look at this and say, well, Trevor Lawrence is sitting out there. We'd sure like a shot at him. But I don't think Dallas is in the market for his services. And so there's enough good players around the country that they should get a good one in the first round, regardless of where it is that they pick.
Given how expensive quarterbacks are today, especially on that second contract or however many tags Dak plays out, do you think that if you have a top 5 pick, you have to at least consider that? Or when you've got a guy like Dak, you say, let's build in the other holes in our team?
Yeah, it becomes hard because you only have so much money to go around. And then if you pick a quarterback up and is Dak going to be done playing within the next 5 years, or is this player going to beat him out within the next 5 years? I don't know. I think those are hard conversations to have. I think what we've seen is the Cowboys have a lot of needs, and so I know the Packers had a lot of needs last year as well, and they drafted Jordan Love in the first round, which we'll see how that turns out. But it doesn't appear to me that Aaron Rodgers is going to be done playing anytime soon at a high level. So I don't know how much the Packers are going to reap from that pick. So I think you take the best player available, but if you've got a quarterback, if you've got a franchise quarterback, I think there's plenty of other needs for this team.
Where do you see the biggest holes on the roster when guys are healthy?
Well, I don't think you ever have enough pass rushers, so that would be number one. I think I really like what I've seen from Diggs as a young player. I know he's given up some plays as well, but that's to be expected, and he's only going to continue to get better. But I like what he's able to do, and I think that secondary will show improvement through the second half of the season as well. I think it's a better I think it'll be a more fair evaluation once it's all said and done, and see where some of these players are within this defensive scheme.
For sure. Have you had the chance to talk to Dak at all since his injury? I know you've got so much going on.
Briefly, yeah, I know that things are coming along for him. He's really disappointed. I'm a huge fan, as you know. I mean, I've said it many times. I think the guy's just a wonderful individual. He's a great leader. He's a great teammate. I mean, everything that you want. And he'll get his money. He got money this year. That's nothing to be upset about. But his big payday, I guess, multi-year contract is coming, and I'll be the happiest person around for him.
After the break, we continue our NFL discussion with Mike Jones and Jarrett Bell. Are the Steelers actually as good as our record states? Is Miami the hottest team right now? We talk all that and more. We're back on Weekly Pulse. We want to do the Midseason award superlative. So think of like high school awards you would get before you graduate, where it's like best dress, best couple. So starting off, I want to know best couple. Whoever wants to go first. Who do you think has so far this season been the best couple?
We probably have the same. Let's see if we got the same one.
So my best couple, I'll try to be a little different here. I'm going to say Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. That has been a great Okay. Man, I was trying to go a little bit off, but that was
yours too? Oh my God. Okay.
such a fantastic move. Stupid of the Houston Texans to get rid of DeAndre Hopkins, but Kyler Murray has grown so much in year 2, and having a game changer, legit wide receiver, just to go along with the ageless one, Larry Fitzgerald, with Cliff Kingsbury, I think it's a perfect tandem right there. So that'll be my pick.
Yeah, well, now I got to go off script, right? And I'm going to say my man Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf, right? Now, they didn't just get together, but, they've been dating for a little while, and now it's going to another level. So you talk about, why the Seahawks are in contention and they've won a bunch of games. It's that passing game. And, it has to be a great feeling of security to have Sierra at home and then have DK on the field.
He's winning in life in general. Now, on the flip side, I want to know worst couple. So
I'll let you go first, JB. So,
it has to be Mike McCarthy and Mike Nolan. Mike and Mike, right?
Mike and Mike.
With Jerry as the third wheel, okay?
That sounds like some sitcom. I like that, Mike and Jerry.
Yeah, it just has not worked out for them. But my bone to pick when it comes to McCarthy and Nolan, McCarthy was Nolan's offensive coordinator several years ago in San Francisco, and it just appears that when McCarthy got the job, he's like, I owe you one. I know you know your defense, blah, blah, blah. Even though your scheme doesn't fit with our personnel, but I'm bringing you in as the coordinator, and it has been a mess in Dallas.
Since you took Mike McCarthy, I'm going to go Ron Rivera and Dwayne Haskins. That thing was a disaster. It looked like everything was good. They were all gussied up on wedding day. They said their vows. Haskins did everything that they asked and everything. And 4 weeks in, and still very much in contention, all of a sudden Haskins is out. Kyle Allen's in. Haskins is wearing street clothes and active. Ron Rivera seemed like he had his mind made up. You know what? I'm going to keep my eye out elsewhere, even though we're married here. And we'll see what happens now. Kyle Allen's hurt. Alex Smith is starting this week. Dwayne Haskins is number 2, but they were not really committed to developing this kid as it seemed. So that'll be my pick for the worst marriage, since you stole Mike McCarthy from me already, JP.
Yeah, good comeback.
All right, most likely to succeed in the future. Think of Rookie of the Year, but most likely to succeed in the future.
I feel really good, and I will go a little less obvious, but Justin Herbert, there in San Diego, or not, LA, sorry, the Chargers. But this setup here with Anthony Lynn, with Pep Hamilton as his quarterback coach, they did not expect that he was going to take the reins of this team as soon as he did. Tyrod Taylor had the punctured lung from the shot from the doctor. This kid has to go in on a short notice, and he's been the starter ever since. He's playing really well. Look, I know they're losing some close games, but this kid is making some plays. He's got a big arm. He's got good mobility. I think he's got probably a more stable situation, because we just don't know about Cincinnati. It has been, Marvin Lewis held a lot together there, even though they didn't have the infrastructural foundation that you really need for long-term success. But I really like Justin Herbert, and so I'll say that he's going to wind up being a star for years to come.
Yeah, that's a good pick, Mike. And like you said, the obvious guy is Joe Burrow, but we'll see if they're able to really surround him with the cast. Tua, obviously, we're going to see what he's going to be able to do. So I'll go with a defensive guy, Isaiah Simmons, for the Arizona Cardinals. And when you talk about a guy who is, a hybrid defensive player who can do a lot of different things, I mean, that's your guy. And so Kyler Murray growing on the offense, now you got a defensive centerpiece to continue to grow with.
All right. Most likely to be canceled after this year.
Should we just say it at the same time?
I got 3 of them on my list.
3, 2, 1.
Adam Gase and the Jets.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I don't see how it's smart to keep Gase, and you're exactly right, Matt Patricia. Maybe even more disappointing. Adam Gase should have never even had his job. If it wasn't for Peyton Manning, this guy would have never been an offensive coordinator anywhere. He wouldn't have gotten that Dolphins job, and he wouldn't have gotten this job at the Jets. So he shouldn't have had his job. Matt Patricia was supposed to be, an extension of Bill Belichick. And this guy doesn't really look like he's got this thing figured out. Another New England assistant that's been disappointing.
Welcome back to Weekly Pulse. The Giants and Jets are getting all the attention for the wrong reasons. The Giants are 2-7 and the Jets are 0-9. So is it safe to say this is the worst year for New York football? Here's what Giants beat reporter Art Stapleton and Jets beat reporter Andy Vasquez had to say.
The Jets and Giants have had horrendous records this season, which brings up the topic of today's discussion. Is this the worst year in New York football history? Rich Kodite is widely considered the worst coach in Jets history. Has Adam Gase caught up with him?
Well, with the numbers, he's not quite as bad as Kodite because Kodite has a worse winning percentage. But the Jets have just been terrible this year. They're off to the worst start in Jets history at 0-9, the first time the Jets have ever started a season 0-9 and the first time they've ever lost 9 games in a season. So he's giving him a run for his money. And if the Jets can somehow finish 0-16 this year, the winning percentage numbers are going to be close, and they'll be just the third team in NFL history to finish 0-16. So I would say the verdict is out. Those Jets were kind of known as less competent somehow than these Jets. I mean, these Jets are less talented than that team was for sure. That 1-15 team back in 1996. They had more talent. They went on to almost make the playoffs the next year. And there just isn't a lot of talent on this team. So I think that overall, the verdict is still out. We're going to have to see. But if the Jets finish 0-16, I think Gase will go down as the worst coach. And that's not a compliment because Kodite is almost known as a swear word when you think about the Jets.
And as for the Giants, despite their poor record, the team is in the hunt for the NFC East. It seems they're headed in the right direction. Is that accurate?
If you look at the Giants this year, they have been competitive. They have the last 3 losses are by a combined 6 points. They have 6 one-score games this year. But again, they only have 2 wins, and they have as much of a shot at getting the number 1 overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft as they do making the playoffs. They believe they're moving in the right direction, but ultimately the heartbreak of some of the close losses they've had this year really go back to a franchise that hasn't been able to get out of its own way. They hope it's changing, but at this point, all they do have is hope, and hope does not, become reality until you start seeing changes on the scoreboard.
That does it for this week's episode of Weekly Pulse. Next week, dreams will be made with the green jacket given to the Masters Tournament champion, as well as the 2020 NBA Draft. For the football fans, the Seahawks and Rams will also make for a great NFC West matchup. Thanks for watching. Hey sports fans, if you want to see more videos like this, check out some of our other ones right here. And if you like what you see, make sure to hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more from USA Today Sports.